Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have quite the exciting venture on our hands. The players in my campaign have just recently killed a bunch of bugbears outside of a cave in a forest near a mountain, and our session that starts tomorrow, they are about to venture into this cave. Now, they've been stuck in this city dealing with all this political nonsense for months and months of real time, and this will be the first dungeon they actually really get to crawl into. So I want to make it really big, and I thought this was a perfect opportunity to use the tables in the Dungeon Master Guide to roll up a huge random dungeon for them. So I've got this huge paper, I've got all my dice, and I've got a lot of time. So what we're going to do is take the Dungeon Master's Guide, and we're going to skip all the way to page 290, which is where the random dungeon appendix starts. And there's all these different tables for areas and passages and doors and locations and stairs, chamber sizes, and then it goes on for traps, and depending on what kind of dungeon it is, whether it's a lair or a mine or a planter gate, you can roll for different rooms, roll for traps, roll for what's in the rooms, roll for, you know, obstacles, traps, furnishings, tricks. And then the one that I really like is noises, odors, the feeling of the air, and that really gets you a more in-depth kind of sensation to really build the realism behind it. And then there's all kinds of other, you know, personal items, books, containers, contents. And then we can go and roll up from the tables starting at page 134 for treasure, gemstones, art objects, gold, tables based off the challenge rating of encounters. Okay, then we're gonna skip over to the random magic items tables on 144, and we're gonna look through them and roll up some magic items, some potions, and populate it with some really cool stuff that they can get. So let's get into it. The best way to start off a random roll dungeon is to roll for the entrance. And that's where our entrance is gonna be. Mark that there. First, I'm gonna get the basic outline of the whole dungeon done first in pencil. Using my ultimate power as the Dungeon Master, there may be a few things that I will have to nerf and correct to make sure. I'm gonna try and keep the confines of it to this page, so there might be a few reroutes done. There will be multiple levels, and I'm gonna try and tie this into the greater story. So for now, I'm just gonna try and build the dungeon, and later on, I will give you guys more of an explanation of what's going on in the different rooms as I write up my descriptions and my treasure lists and everything, but let's get the dungeon made first. Well, that definitely worked out a little bit better than I expected. We got the first level outlined. I gotta name all the rooms and populate them before I move on to the other levels. Here's a quick peek at how it went. I only had to nerf a couple things because of the edge of the pages. But basically we have our entrance here, which is gonna come down from a cave that's a little bit higher, and it's gonna move in through all these rooms and passages. Here we have stairs that go down. This staircase goes down 3 levels to a chamber. All these rooms connected, these doorways. Oh, I still have to be behind that door. Another set of stairs that goes down 3 levels. We got some doors that are actually false doors with traps. We got a staircase going up. So we got all these rooms and passageways we have to populate with stuff. And then we gotta make some more levels. So hang in there. I guess we'll do level A1, A2, A3. These are just the names of the room, so when I write my notes with all the contents and furnishings and treasure and stuff, I know what I'm referring to. Oh, another series of unfinished. 23. Okay, now we're gonna start populating these rooms. I guess this is gonna be a lair because I want kobolds in here. Now I better go get my notebook so I can write all these notes down. So I've just done the roll-ups for A1, the entranceway, the first one in here. And I rolled up that it's a storage room with no real perishable goods, and there are holes in the floor, so it's partially collapsed that lead to lower levels. Inside is gonna be 3 kobolds, the dominant inhabitant here. They have 10 gold on them. When you enter this room, you can hear footsteps approaching from somewhere. The air is clear but damp, and it smells kind of earthy. So The air and the smell, the odor, I'm gonna probably not do for every single room. I might, but you figure like this is supposed to be a cave, so damp, earthy smelling air was a lucky roll. That makes sense. And we're just gonna kind of go through the process of populating all these rooms, and then we're gonna move on to the other levels. It took a pretty long time, but finally done basically populating the first level. You can see that I've done all the rooms to a certain extent. When I was rolling for the chamber purpose tables, I was getting a lot of re-rolls, so I actually started rolling 2d10 for the d100 and a d20, and then I was kind of going through the list for each number until I found something I hadn't used yet or that seemed like it would fit. But I mean, so basically A20 is this room here, rolled layer for guard beasts. So I have it populated by 6 kobolds who are the dominant inhabitants. And then because it's for the lair beasts, I added in some giant beetles just for fun. Or if we pick A3 got rolled up as a giant chapel with a trick. So there's a sphere of magical energy floating above the altar, and when they touch it, it will either enlarge or reduce them. There's also a statue of a dragon human figure, Kurtlemak, who's the god of the kobold, and some small idols of gnome skulls, which is Kurtlemak's symbol. There is no treasure in here. It's just a room to trick them. We can take another random one. A9, which is this room here, is a torture chamber. It's filled with horrific torture devices, has 8 kobolds, and they're in there and they're torturing 2 bugbears. Each kobold has 15 gold, and it smells like blood, sweat, and feces. So yeah, we populated this entire level with different monsters and treasure. For instance, 21 got rolled up as an empty room, and in the center there's 2,000 gold, a wand of fear, a ring of feather falling, a +2 trident, and a dagger of venom cursed, which is an item they think they've already gotten rid of that cursed one of their players. But I've decided that once they start taking the treasure, they're gonna hear screaming and thumping, and in this room there's some captives, some bugbears and ogres. So one of the ogres is gonna get loose and run into the room, chasing after them, followed by 6 kobolds that are trying to maintain its captor. Honestly, not sure. It's kind of hard to see the bigger picture, but I do have to do the other levels of the dungeon still, and then maybe I'll let them play it through, and then I'll finish the video and let you guys know like how well it worked, because I'm trying really hard to maintain, you know, the pure randomness of rolling everything. And like I said, there are a few things I had to nerf. For instance, when I rolled this room, it was supposed to have a bunch of exits, but I didn't really want to just turn this all into one big open area. I like the random tunnels, or like, you know, the edges. I told you I wasn't gonna go anywhere past, so I just ended this here. I've also been populating various rooms and hallways with these traps. Not just traps from here, I've also been rolling traps off the tables, but I do have this deck of trap cards for levels 5 to 8. My characters are currently, one's level 6 and the rest are level 7. So I do have some of these traps kind of filling up some of the voids. These trap cards are great. Gives it a little bit more variety than just the rolling off the tables. And some of them you can flip through and it just makes sense, so I added them in there. I might have to add a few more traps to the hallways because it is a kobold lair. But I'm gonna kind of do that maybe after I'm finished with the rest of the dungeon creation. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this. So far, I think it's turning out pretty well, and I think this is gonna take them quite a long time to go through, maybe a few sessions. So I'm not gonna post this video until after they've cleared the dungeon, or they've given up on it, or they all die, because I don't want you guys watching this, Spellfire's Companions, and having it spoiled. But we're gonna move on to the second layer of the dungeon. So venturing on to doing the other layers in this dungeon, I have decided to make a couple of amendments to the randomness. For instance, right now I am doing the upper level because there were 2 staircases that go up, including the entrance one that I made to begin with. So when I'm rolling the first level, I'm not gonna roll any more staircases because I know that in the world that I've created, or in this part of the world that I've created that I've already described to my players, there would be no up from here, and I'm not gonna create any more staircases down onto a map that I've already created. So I'm just gonna leave it at those 2 staircases and kind of build a hopefully small first layer, which is gonna be even more of a cave setting because they're on a level plane in the forest, walking into a cave that's kind of in the side of a hill there. So what I've done is put the first map over top of the second map and marked out where the staircases are, so they'll be in the same spot in relation to each other on this map. So yeah, I'm gonna roll this first level really quick. That's just gonna be kind of the entryway into the lower levels, hopefully very small. And then we're gonna move on to the second and third layers. The dice gods have been kind. This is what I was worried about happening, did not happen. I rolled this first level into just 2 massive rooms. So right here is gonna be where they come in from the outside into the first room. Here's this staircase down. There's gonna be some bugbears remaining in here ready to fight them. And then there's this short passageway into a much bigger chamber. Inside here, there is a chained up ogre on top of this trap door that leads to these stairs. And these stairs go to here and here in the first level of the dungeon. When I move on to the next level down, I'm gonna try the same thing, marking, I think there's only 1 staircase on here that goes down to that level. I think I'm gonna try what I did on this very small one and build and furnish the rooms all at the same time to see if that saves time. Because drawing the map out and then going back and doing it seems like it took a while. So yeah, I'm gonna try building and furnishing together to see how that goes. So this is what I have with the second layer, just the stairs going down onto this level. So the first roll I rolled is a 20, and a 20 is stairs. I don't know what to do. Guess we'll roll it. $11. Down 3 levels to a chamber. I guess I'm gonna make a little passageway and then the stairs. What? At least for a piece of paper. So it's been a couple months since I rolled up the random dungeon, and after I finished the other levels the same way that I did the first ones, I decided to go over all my pencil lines with Copic markers to kind of make it stand out, make it easier to see, and make the distinctions really, really clear. And it turned out looking really cool, I think. Here's what they ended up looking like. This is the entry into the cavern. Like I said, they came in from here, and here are the stairs that go down into the first level. And I had the nerve to make the second level up here. This is a separate thing for the staircases that went down to B1 and then down into level 5. And then there's a few more staircases in there which lead down 3 levels into the next main area of the dungeon. This was a blast, but I did realize, even when I was designing it, that keeping it completely random wasn't really gonna work. Some things just really didn't make sense. I kept rolling, like I said, stairs and hallways and rooms that really didn't go anywhere. And I ended up with a whole bunch of sections of empty rooms next to each other. And because of even the nature of the first level being kobolds, the second level is not kobolds, who like to trap a lot more, there wasn't really any tables for me to roll random traps in passageways, so I did have to use those treacherous trap cards to add extra traps, and I even just made some up as I was running it. A lot of other things got changed too. As the players were kind of making their way through the dungeon, they were asking questions, obviously, and I kind of built more into the background of the design of the dungeon based on what they were doing. For instance, in this room up here, it was just a pool of water, and I decided to just throw a Fomorian in there because it would be kind of a cool enemy for them to have, and then I gave them a necklace from an ancient god because that kind of fit into what was already happening. You know, Kurtlemak, there was a statue of Kurtlemak in the chapel on the upper level, and one of the characters was a gnome, and one of Kurtlemak's like major enemies is Garl Glittergold, who is one of the gnome gods. So I started throwing in a little bit of gnomish religion cues in there, as if the kobolds were kind of trying to maybe summon Kurtlemak, and he wanted gnome skulls because there were gnome skulls on there, you know. So I gave the Fomorian a religious necklace, and I decided to make the walls of this room covered in very strange ancient hieroglyphics and pictograms depicting some religious ritual to do with the pool. And then they were fighting the Fomorian and going really well, and one of them knocked him into the pool. And I decided just before that encounter that the pool was going to have rejuvenation effects. One portion of that water gives you the exact same effects as taking a long rest without having to take it. And they went crazy. They found a bag of holding, and they had their water skins, and they were trying to fill them up with all this water. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So obviously, if they tried to take the water out of the room, then there were water elementals that came up out of the pool to kind of make sure none of the water got taken away. Another thing that got changed was this room up here was originally a circular room, and I was trying to tie this dungeon to the main story, and just previous to them coming here, they had gone up to the volcano to destroy the cursed dagger, and they had to fight some giants, and this was in the right vicinity. And you know, I'd already placed a dragon, a young red dragon, in this room with a massive treasure hoard, which also had an item that they've been looking for, and it just kind of made sense, like, how can I make this more real? They were kind of mentioning the idea, they thought maybe the volcano was involved, so I just cut the room in half, made half of it like a lava that went into the bowels of the volcano. That also gave the dragon more room to fly around if he needed to while they were fighting him, but they ended up taking him out super quick with a clever use of a removable rod. But anyways, so rolling up random dungeons, definitely a great way to make a dungeon. It gives you a layout. Like, I never would have designed anything of a layout anywhere close to this. I mean, it's just fantastic, and you can populate it. Gives you great ideas to populate it, but I definitely don't think I would count solely on that. It'll give you for sure enough of a basis to really structure something off of it. My players were in this dungeon for 6 sessions. They stayed 6 in-game days, and it was about 1 day per session because of the nature of how the dungeon crawl was running for them. I think that equaled out to about almost just under 30 hours of playtime in this dungeon. And they cleared these 2 rooms. They didn't even touch this whole layer. On the first layer, they came in, went through a few of the spots. They came into here and then decided to come back up into here and around, and then they went down into this layer, and they ended up doing almost everything on this layer of the dungeon. But this whole section of this lower dungeon never even got touched. And yeah, you know, we spent 25 or 26 hours of playtime in here. They had a blast. I had a blast running it because, like I said, there's just so many opportunities when you do something like this to like have fun with it. I would just flip through the monster manual, and for instance, when they came down onto this level, they came down in these stairs and decided to go up through here, and immediately there was just a door there, and I thought, how can I make this more interesting? So it ended up being a push door where they had to push it through, and it would fill up the tunnel until they got to the other side. And then when they came around into here in D10 was marked down to have 3 hellhounds, and then I decided, why would there be hellhounds down here? I think when they first arrived into D1, I just threw troglodytes at them because I wanted to make it a little bit different than the kobolds and whatnot they'd been fighting up above. So I decided troglodytes were down here. This level was a lot more like natural cave formations, a lot darker, a lot damper, a lot muskier than the upper levels where the kobolds were. So I thought, maybe troglodytes, something weird shit lives down here. And when they came around to the Hellhound room, they found corpses of kobolds. And then I decided I could throw an Ontiag at them, who was attracted by the smell of the blood and the corpses. And he came around and blocked them off from there and kind of forced them to go around. Like, there's just so much you can play with. I just kept flipping through the monster manual and finding other cool Underdark or kind of cave monsters I wanted to throw at them, and cool tricks and stuff. Even this room here was rolled, D9 was rolled as an empty room. And when they got in there and they decided, oh, let's go in here to have a rest, there was a pile of rocks there. Earth elemental they had to fight, and I don't know, I just think this was a blast. If you're struggling with making up your own dungeons, for sure try rolling random dungeons at Dungeon Master table. I suggest, like I did on big paper, I outlined everything in black and then went around it with just brown, making hash marks just to separate it so it's very easily discernible what is inside the caves and what isn't. And don't be afraid to adjust as you go. I mean, your players and you are collaboratively creating a story, so if they come up with a cool idea about what might be down here, don't be afraid to use it. It might be better than what you thought. So yeah, I mean, I thought this was a blast. I'm for sure gonna roll up some more random dungeons in the future. Let me know what you think of this dungeon, and if you're interested in knowing more about it, I can for sure put it up and write out my whole descriptions about everything in all the rooms if anybody is interested. Let me know in the comments. If you liked this, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. There's lots more fun stuff coming up you can do inside it out. Peace.